slowly, perceptibly, like an iceberg, a crisis point is coming towards the United States. Will the United States default and not be able to pay its bills on August 2nd? Over the past weeks, I've said in in the first part of this video, that August the 2nd would be the turning point about whether the United States will be a great power that pays its bills or not. Let's see what Euronews has to say on the subject, with Obama presenting a bill to Congress.
The fourth day of all-party debt deficit talks in Washington has reportedly ended stormily. Barack Obama is said to have rejected a Republican call for a short-term plan based on spending cuts. The president is said to be willing to consider cuts if they're matched by tax rises for the rich, but the Republicans say this will stifle growth and investment.
Thank you very much.
Moody's has said it may cut the government's AAA credit rating, alluding to a small but increasing risk that it will default on its debt. The review's been prompted by the fear that the $14.3 trillion debt ceiling may not be raised in time. The continuing impasse is unsettling Wall Street, which has so far behaved as if the raising of the ceiling is a foregone conclusion. If Moody's were to lower its rating, the US would have to honour payments to its creditors before Social Security payments were made to Americans.
And the next video is coming up.
With time running out, negotiations between the US President and the Republicans to avert an unprecedented default seem to be going nowhere. Before August 2nd, they have to reach a deal. Otherwise, the US will run out of money to pay its bills. Obama blames the Republicans for refusing to accept tax hikes.
We have never defaulted on our debt. We're not going to do it now. If we're going to reduce our deficit, then the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations should do their part as well.
The Republicans counter that the White House is the problem, as it won't agree to deep spending cuts aimed at long-term deficit reduction, and it seems no progress is being made.
There was no agreement, publicly, privately, never an agreement, and frankly, not close to an agreement. And so I would just suggest that it's going to be a hot weekend here in Washington, D.C.
If there's no deal, the United States would default on its obligations, possibly plunging the country back into recession and certainly sparking a crisis in financial markets worldwide.
Well, when the BBC says on the subject that this crisis will be bigger than Greece, and the Federal Reserve says that a default is likely and they are preparing. This is the Federal Reserve, the people who are ultra Keynesians. I'm a Keynesian economist, but these people, Ben Bernanke, only know one way to do economics, and that is to print money to create inflation. But they don't seem to have a plan other than to prepare for a default. What this will mean is that there will have to be cuts in the United States defence budget, because this is the only place that Obama can get defence and spending down. They need to cut, in Niall Ferguson's view, over $4 trillion worth of defence spending over the next few years. Now, Obama has said quite sensibly, in my view, that he needs to do spending cuts and also increase taxes, although this will mean a temporary short-term contraction of the economy. Whereas the Republicans have said, in their view, that taxing the rich whilst taking other people out of the bottom run of taxation, as Obama might want to do, which would create a multiplier effect among the working and middle class in their terms of their incomes and spending, that the Republicans would not favour this because they believe that the taxing the rich in the classical conservative US argument would make the rich go to flight and leave the country. I'd like to know your opinions on this, as this is an update video, but the clear problem is that if the Americans don't get a source of money and funds from somewhere, and that can only be rich corporations and banks and rich individuals who have sucked the economy dry over the past 20 to 30 years, then there is no other option, is there? If you have a better solution than that, all I can suggest is that the Americans start doing what Paul Romer said and start building chartered cities and a massive, as Paul Krugman said, that they should do a massive public works regime throughout the country to replace the dilapidated roads and electrical system and get the economy going through a multiplier effect. This is all basic Keynesian economics. But there is a problem with Keynesian economics in that if you create a multiplier effect and too many, say, sports cars are produced, then the person who produced the sports cars, when there is a glut, will then have their business fold on them, as nobody wants that many sports cars. So there are problems with Keynesian economics as well as monetarism. What to do? I only suggest the United States should bloody well sort it out, because the rest of the world is waiting in bated breath that you come to a reasonable conclusion and agreement between yourselves in the United States government over fiscal policy and monetary policy in the Federal Reserve, which has been acting like a rogue central bank for many years and needs to be reined in. They're the ones who created the debt crisis in the first place, and the United States can ill afford $1 trillion deficit per year for the rest of eternity. They may have China as a captive state in terms of exports going to the United States, but the United States has to make something in their country, and it needs to come together with the European Union to make a unified Western world and to sort out the Western world and Western civilization's problems. Thank you for listening.